So, today we will be looking at a Blumhouse movie based on an older property released in February of 2020 that had its box office potential cut short because of COVID. I wish. No, today we are looking at Fantasy Island from the people behind the great, good, behind the movie, Truth or Dare. Oh boy. Let's dive in and hope that this won't be as bad as I think it will be. So the main premise is that our characters are brought to an island owned by Mr. Rourke and his assistant, and all guests are allowed to have a fantasy played out with the rule that when you start a fantasy, you have to finish it. So this movie is kind of all over the place, so I think it is the easiest to look at each person's fantasy individually to keep everything clear. So one of the two brother actually has a really sad backstory where his father wasn't accepting of his sexuality. Obviously, his fantasy is to be accepted by his father. Huh, funny. No, his fantasy is to have a big mansion party with his brother. Alright. So everything seems to go fine until armed drug dealers show up and take them hostage, and it seems like these people aren't part of the fantasy. But we'll get back to that later. Okay, let's make fun of this guy. Ah, fuck. This guy has actually the best written and acted part of the movie. So, Patrick, his father, died in the military, and his wish is to see him again. So, the twist is that Patrick becomes part of his father's fatal mission. So, naturally, Patrick tells his father, and his father tries to run away, leaving his team and son behind. This results in the best scene in the movie. Patrick knows that the rest of the team will die if his father doesn't sacrifice himself. His father running away proves that he isn't the hero Patrick thought he was always been. This breaks Patrick and it results in a fight. In the end, Patrick convinces his father to stay and they will finish their mission, which is to save their brothers from the hostage situation. They succeed, but his father dies, of course, and so does the straight brother. Let's check in on the other side of the island, starting with Melanie. Melanie has the fantasy of taking revenge on a childhood bully called Sloane. Could have gone to therapy, just saying. She takes revenge, how you ask? By torturing her and leaking her sex tape. She thinks all of this is fake, of course. Doesn't make it okay. I still recommend therapy, but when Melanie finds out Sloane is real, she ends it. And our final fantasy is Gwen wanting to not reject her boyfriend's marriage proposal and have a kid with him. The second she realizes that this is true, she begs for another fantasy, and here we get some major reveals. In this fantasy, she tries to stop herself from making a fire that would end up killing a guy named Nick, but is unsuccessful. Now we have everybody back together for the plot twist. Everybody had a connection to that dead guy Nick. So the brothers were his roommate, Patrick was the building's security guard, Melanie was his boyfriend, and Sloane is just there for vibes. Also, the reason why all the fantasies go wrong is because this isn't their fantasy. They are all part of somebody's big revenge fantasy to avenge Nick his death by Melanie. Again, fucking therapy. So Melanie kills Patrick with a grenade because reasons, but luckily Sloane hasn't had a fantasy and kills Melanie with her fantasy. Is it over? It is. Yes!